Now, if you didn't know, there's a new event on the international sporting calendar this year, the European Games, which will have its inaugural outing in Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan, in June. 50 countries, 20 sports, 6,000 plus athletes. All so far so good. But Azerbaijan, like so many nations dependent on commodities, has got some problems right now. Oil makes up 95% of its exports, 75% of its revenue. So with the price of oil as low as it is, that spells trouble. The currency's been devalued by a third, budgets are tight, all at a time when Azerbaijan wants to show off its capital city to the world. Simon Clegg is the Chief Operating Officer of Baku 2015. He spoke to our sports presenter Joanna Gajarovska about the importance of these games to Azerbaijan.
Well, first of all, I think there's a real need to have a European Games. We need to recognise that Europe is the only continent in the world that doesn't have its own major multi-sport event for the best athletes of the continent. There's been a Pan-American Games and a Nation Games since 1951, and despite the athletic strength or athletic prowess and the commercial strength of Europe, there has never been an event for the best athletes in Europe. Azerbaijan took the initiative through the leadership of President Ilham Aliyev, the President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, who was the President of his National Olympic Committee before he became President of the Republic. And so he understands sport. He realises the potential for sport and what it can deliver in terms of political terms. And therefore, I think it's a very exciting opportunity to deliver the first ever European Games here in Baku this summer.
And what can it deliver for Baku and Azerbaijan? What do they get out of hosting the first European Games?
Well, first of all, the prestige of hosting the inaugural European Games. This is a fantastic new event. Someone has described it last week as probably the most important new global sports event in the last 50 years. But as far as Azerbaijan is concerned, this allows it to help diversify its economy into tourism and into sports tourism in particular. We only need to look at the next couple of years with Azerbaijan and Baku hosting Formula One, Islamic Solidarity Games, Chess Olympiad and 4 matches of Euro 2020. So really a great future ahead of it. But it's also about physical legacy and human legacy that are being delivered as a result of these games.
And you mentioned that Azerbaijan's president is known to be a great supporter of the games coming to Azerbaijan. How hands-on has he been?
Well, he's obviously an incredibly busy man, but he comes from sport, as I mentioned a moment ago, and therefore he understands sport, and he's been to a number of Olympic Games himself with the Azerbaijani National Olympic Committee, so he understands some of the detail and some of the practical issues that have to go in and be put in place to deliver an event of this scale. I mean, we're talking about 6,000 athletes, 20 different sports, so this is a major new initiative.
Recently, Amnesty International released a report that talked about the repression of journalists and activists in the lead-up to the Games. People were largely calling for a boycott of the Games to draw attention to human rights violations. Another human rights group also said that Azerbaijan were using the Games to whitewash the country's reputation. How do you respond to that?
Well, I'm focused on delivering a sporting event, and believe me, with 99 days to go until the opening ceremony, we still have a huge amount to do here in Azerbaijan. I think that the hosting of the European Games embodies all the massive progress that this young and dynamic country has made, just 23 years since it became independent. And I think that the staging of the European Games here in Azerbaijan will showcase Azerbaijan to the world and show its potential.
Let's talk about the economy in Azerbaijan. Oil and gas make up 95% of its exports, 75% of its revenue. So with the price of oil so low, what impact is that having on the Games, if any? And can Azerbaijan continue to pay for these 50 teams to travel there?
Well, in terms of answering the second part of your question to start with, I mean, obviously the funding of athletes and officials from the 50 participating countries coming to Azerbaijan was a precondition of the host city contract and Baku being awarded the Games back in December 2012. And we should never forget that this event is being delivered in just 30 months compared with the normal 7 years preparation time that an Olympic or Olympic Winter Games host city would have. In terms of the diversification of the economy, and in particular the question relating to falling oil prices, of course that's something that we have been conscious of, and we have gone through a prudent review of our budget since the middle of last summer when the oil prices started to fall, and I'm confident that we can still deliver an outstanding event here in Baku later this summer based upon the budget that has been allocated to us.
Last month the country devalued its currency and the price of goods and services are rising. Some analysts say that inflation could rise to 30% this year. Is the government worried? What are they doing to try and counter this?
Well, I'm not in a position to answer that question. I mean, I think that question that you've specifically asked needs to be directed to the government, and I'm not a spokesman for the government. I'm a spokesman for Baku 2015, and I need to focus on the sporting aspects of delivering this major new initiative.
Simon Clegg there, the Chief Operating Officer for Baku 2015. Thanks very much for speaking to us on Counting the Cost.